Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and it is time to wrap up 3 months worth of reading. I'm here to tell you all I have not been doing monthly wrap-ups, but if you've been on this channel, you know I'm good for skipping a month or two, but I'm always going to run it back so you know what I read and how I felt. Because I'm a yapper, I'm going to try to do this very quick and succinct. I'm going to do a yes, no, maybe. So let's go ahead because we're going to be wrapping up May, June, and July. So starting all the way back in May, the first book that I finished in May was Soul Glitch by Gabriella G. This is the second in the Soul series, and I'm going to tell you, yes, you need to pick up this series, but it has to be read in order because you need to get the full story of why our two characters are going through what they're going through. This particular book is a marriage in trouble with a lot of family drama, a lot of secrets, a lot of emotional going ons, and I felt every single emotion. The next book I read in the month of May and finished was actually a conclusion to a series, and I'm going to say it is The Big Girl Blitz by Danielle Allen. This is the third and the final in the Curve series, and this one for sure is a yes. This has my favorite MMC, which he's definitely going to go in the book Boyfriend Hall of Fame for 2026, Mr. Lamar Anderson. I'm going to tell you, this is certainly a yes for those of you all that want an emotional read. You like to have something that is set in the summertime, but is really rooted in a lot of reality. This one is heavier because it does have some grief. It does have some fat phobia in it, but one thing it's going to have is a beautiful love story and some pretty funny writing by Miss Danielle Allen. The next one I read was for my motorcycle romance vlog. If you want to, I'll put it down in the cards below to get my full thoughts on the next two reads. But the first one I read in there was Queenie and the Kraken by Alira Anya Ceres. I don't know why I can't get her name. But this one is a maybe. This is particular for the people that I'm just here for a little bit of paranormal relationship, because this is shifters, mainly Kraken shifters, motorcycle romance that is a why choose. Like, you're just looking for something to cleanse the palate, whether you've been reading dark romance, you've been reading emotional romance, and you just want to have something that you could just put on and listen to, or like read and not have to think about a lot. This one would be good for that recommendation. Also for that vlog, I then picked up a book that is a definite yes for me. If you all know, I am starting to read a lot more of Christina C. Jones. Now, I'm never going to get through her whole catalog because she has something like 80 books. Like, the lady's pen is on fire and it goes and goes and goes. Can't be stopped. There is no genre that she can't write in. So I wanted to pick up her motorcycle romance. This right here, this copy is the duology bind up together. So this is a special edition, but I only read the first book and I will be coming back to read the second part in the duology. This one, for the month of May, I read No Longer Afraid. I'm going to tell you is a yes. Like, I really enjoyed how Christina C. Jones weaved this story between our two characters with previous stories that I had heard about but hadn't read, which led me to want to go deeper into her catalog. This one has a motorcycle romance mixed with, we're going to say, a hired hitman that has left the agency and is now trying to figure out a different life. And he just finds himself in a little bit more mess. Definitely has that hidden identity where you want to get to know more. Once I finished that, I was like, okay, I need something a little bit different. I want to get into the music scene. So I read Maybe for the Summer by Aubrey Penn. This one is in my Unstuff Your TBR summer edition. And I had a fantastic time. This one for sure is a yes. I loved, like, the opposite attract. You have a good girl, bad boy, where he falls first. It does have some heavier themes, but like, I really enjoyed how like their romance started off as a one night stand and then blossomed into like this soul connection where they needed each other, but not in a harmful or toxic way, but they just wanted to be surrounded in each other's love. And it is truly a summer romance that I just really adored. My next read is a hell yes if you like Evelyn Leigh. Now, if you've read any of her catalog, this one blends in so well because it is an anthology and it pulls from various different of her books. So it pulls from characters you see in Shadow Obsession, it pulls from characters you see in Elevator Pitch, but it gives you a glimpse into her writing because they're all short stories built together around a pleasure club. And baby, one thing that Evelyn can do is make me laugh, and she could definitely turn up the heat. This one is what made me double guess whether or not I actually like anthologies because she did it so well. So I'm going to tell you, if you are into something that is quick, but it is full and robust, and it has some spicy times, but those spicy times move the plot forward, and it is a taste of her writing, for sure check out After Hours. Because I was reading for my summer romance, I had to pick up The Close-Up because this by Kennedy Ryan is one that I had heard very little about until the re-release. It is giving island vibes. This is where our FMC and our MMC rekindle a budding romance that they had as children by going on this cruise for our main character's birthday. And they can't be together, but the attraction is so strong. I'm going to say this is a hell yes for Miss Kennedy Ryan. Like, this story in particular, let me know that she has more than just emotional writing in her. The lady has the talent for spice. I had the pleasure of being an ARC reader for D.A. Austin's Love Unfinished. I am going to say this one is a maybe. And the reason why I say that is because it is a closed door romance. And if you don't like a closed door romance and you're going in expecting this to be open and it to be, full, I'm going to say don't expect that. Also, I would say this is a maybe because it is new adult. These characters are going to college. They're in their freshman year. So if you are a more mature reader and you like an adult romance and you want something that has spice, you want something that is fully formed in adultness, this may not be the one for you, but I really enjoyed it. Now let's talk about the month of June. Now for June, because I just told you I read The Close-Up, I was already in a Kennedy Ryan moment. Like, I wanted to read her newest release, which is Score. I do have a dedicated reading vlog to this because she came to St. Louis and I attended, which is where I picked up this book. Now, Kennedy Ryan is my girl. I love her down bad. Like, usually when it comes to anything she's right, I'm going to tell you, recommend it, read it. Does not matter where you start in her catalog. This one, I would highly encourage you to read Real first. However, if you read Real first and you are just like me, Real is my favorite book ever. Score, unfortunately, didn't live up to the hype that I had placed it at. I'm not going to say it's a maybe because it is definitely a yes, you should read this, but I would tell you to temper your expectation with the romance. After that, I was like, okay, I'm reading some books that are hitters that I know the authors. Let me jump into something that is by an author that I have heard everyone has loved, but I've never read from. And so I decided to pick up Nitra Antoinette's Body Count, and y'all, this is definitely a yeah for me. So much so that I wind up buying each one of the books in the series. Now, I don't have them in my hands physically yet. I'm waiting for them to be shipped. But I enjoyed Body Count so much. I enjoyed her writing. I enjoyed the storytelling. Because June is Pride Month, I wanted to explore reading a sapphic romance, but I wanted to do it in terms of a mafia feel. And I had never heard of a book, anything like this, and I had been seeing it constantly on my timeline. So I picked up Soft on Her by Lakia. This is my first read by Lakia because, again, I'm trying to, in the month of June, I was trying to read not only LGBTQIA+ books, but I wanted to also read new to me authors. And this one definitely let me know I will be reading more from Lakia. Like I said, it is a sapphic romance. It has mafia elements. It was childhood's friends to lovers, turns to strangers, and then back to lovers. Such a good time. What may be my favorite book of the year thus far is one that I read in June, and that is Love and Legend by Kit Gray. Sports romance, a Killian male romance, diving into some heavier topics, grief, caretaking, by awakening. Yo, this one right here, top notch. The writing, fantastic. The characters and their attraction to one another is so deep. Like, I love this book and I'm going to recommend it down. Y'all are probably going to get tired of me talking about it this year, but just know it is an absolute yes for me. Break from, diving into authors that I didn't know, because I am also reading in terms of getting to Cube. So I was like, okay, well, I'm feeling a little itch for something that is shifter romance. I talked about reading Shifter the month prior when it came to Queenie and the Krakens, but I said, okay, I need something werewolf-like. And so I decided to pick up the Bennett Brothers series. This is a 3-part book series from Casey Mills. Now, I'm going to talk about each one of them individually because I rated them a little bit different. The first one is Lone Wolf, which I'm going to tell you is yes. It is definitely where you're going to see a fated maid shifter romance. It sets the tone for the series. But my favorite is Hex Wolf, which is the second book. It is so good, so juicy. It has some forbidding efforts to it because there is a witch and a shifter. So when you put those two together, it is magically delicious. You've got one of my least favorite tropes built into this book, which is Secret Baby. And I'm like, yo, anytime you can get me to read a Secret Baby, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. This is goated. The last book that I read for this one, I can't remember the name, but I'll put it here. It is the third in the final in the series. It's a maybe. Like, I didn't necessarily have to read it, but I needed to feel like I completed the series. So this one is a maybe, but the other two are definitely yeses. Because I was still feeling shifter romances and because I was still preparing for Cubed, which is going to be in September, I wanted to read Elle Kayson's One Night Only, and this one is a yes for me. It was very quick. I wanted more from it, but what I got was Pleasure Club. It's Always Been You, Fated Mate, second chance type of romance where it just built into a desire that I was like, okay, well, what's next? Jumping back into finishing series, I decided to read The Opportunity. This one is an FFM romance, and I'm going to tell you it is a maybe. Now, I absolutely love and adore this series by T.M. Richardson. I had such a good time with The Oath and with The Offer. This one, I'm saying it's a maybe because a lot of people are probably going to dislike our two FMCs. Like, mainly you're going to dislike our primary Nadine because you're used to having characters that you like. This one, it's a difficult recommendation because there is, in my personal opinion, some infidelity / cheating that's going on. There is definitely some disrespect in terms of setting boundaries and relationships. This one is an age gap. It also takes place in a pleasure club, and it has a nanny trope. So for those of you that don't necessarily want children involved in your romances, this probably wouldn't be for you. For me, I think that it stretched the boundaries of what I knew, and it was very similar to one of my actual favorite books that are similar to this. So for me, I didn't hate it, but it definitely toed a line for me. So for that reason, I'm going to say a maybe. The last and final book I read in June was Written in Red. I had this as an art copy. This is by Zia Kaylee Galen, and I'm going to say it's a maybe. I did not read the first book in the series, which I think is Something Blue. I'm going to put it up here. You don't have to necessarily read that in order to read Written in Red, in my personal opinion. However, you do lose a lot of context if you don't. And maybe that's the reason I'm going to tell you it's a maybe, because I felt like there were parts that were missing, but that is a me problem. That is a me issue. I decided to jump in this without having done my due diligence of reading the homework. But outside of that, it was good. It was mafia related. It had childhood friends to lover, pen pal. I think this is probably the best pen pal situation. Definitely stalker romance. Definitely has those dark elements, but you enjoy the good girl, bad boy trope. This one is going to be for you. Now let's close out this wrap up by talking about the books that I read in July. So I decided to pick up Love's Deep Cover by Charity Shanae. This one very much feels reminiscent of King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. I used this and a couple of other books in my reading recommendations video. So if you want to get full recommendation as to why I compare the two, I'll leave that down, that video down in the chat. I'm going to say that this one is a maybe. Now, for me, I enjoyed a lot of elements about it. It wasn't something that I thought was extremely spectacular or new, but I did enjoy seeing the hidden identity, seeing how she worked through it. It was definitely a good book. It's just, you know, did I necessarily feel like it was a must read from her catalog? I think Charity Shanae has some books that I love a little bit more. Now, the next one, Controversial, which is Stepped by Nicole Jackson. This was absolutely entertaining. If you have ever read a Nicole Jackson, y'all know that is absolute chaotic. It is absolute mess and drama. If you come in with that expectation, you will enjoy it. If you come back expecting like this romance that is rooted in something other than foolishness, you may not like this. But for me, I knew what to expect when I read it, and because I did, I had a doggone good time. Do I recommend it necessarily? No. So don't take this as a recommendation. This seems confusing. I'm telling you, yes, but yes, if you know what you're getting into and you've read from her catalog before. No. Let me just clarify if I can. Step siblings, cheating trope. Those are two things that are hard-nosed for a lot of people. But I told you it has a lot of mess, some drama, and wild behavior going on, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. What I will definitely be recommending is Sinful Serenity by Mary C. Kim. This scratched an itch for me because I was like, I need a mafia romance and I need it stat. This is Rivals to Lovers. It definitely has an arranged marriage feel, but they're not necessarily giving into that love. It wasn't always, I've always loved you, but we can't be together because we are rivals. Our families are rivals, and we actually probably should hate each other's gut because we are the last of our lineage. Fantastic. Absolutely. Yes, if you like mafia or if you like arranged marriages, for sure, it's tea. The next one, surprisingly, I would say for me, it was a no. For you, I'm going to tell you it's a maybe. It is The Misconnection by Tia Williams. I had very high hopes for this. You all will be getting a vlog of me reading this month, in the month of August. So I don't want to give you too much about it. It has an imaginary love triangle, but not really. I think that this one in theory sounded like it was a good premise, but once I started to read it, the characters started to irritate me. It's not necessarily my favorite work, obviously, of Tia Williams. I have loved everything else that I have read from her. So if you want to pick up her catalog, I'm going to tell you this is not the one to go with. However, the cover is stunning and gorgeous. Now, what I will tell you is an absolute yes for me is pretty much almost anything in Robbie Renee's catalog. I read Somebody's Husband. This one was for my Unstuff Your TBR cursive edition. Book Boyfriend of 2026, not boyfriend, book husband of 2026, Dresden Xavier. This man loved his wife from beyond the grave. Like, he loves her so bad. And then he finds another woman that he never thought would be able to have a place in his heart, and he loves her equally. And he is doing the best that he can to raise his 2 teenage daughters and be a stand-up man. And in this, you have a lot of grief, but you also have a lot of growth. You have a lot of love, maturity, and understanding. Fantastic read. One of my favorite books, I told you all Loving the Legend was one of my top reads of the year. I think this one may be rivaling it in the romance department, in the longing, in the yearning, in the writing. That's going to be If You Stayed by Brittany Cherry. I had to put this one off for so long, but it was in my cursive reading vlog. And I was like, okay, well, let me give this a try. I originally had an arc when this came out, I believe in like December of 2025. And I hadn't read it. I said, it's time to make it happen. Y'all, blew me out of the water. It is an amnesia trope. childhood best friends to strangers to lovers. It has some difficult relationships, definitely some hard topics. This one does center some DV that's in here, so please be mindful of that. Has discussions of therapy, but the love between these two characters, where one knows that they love them, the other one is learning to love them, but their soulmate connection is so tight. Yeah, absolute yes for this one. I read Loved by a Certified Maniac. This one, I'm gonna say maybe if you want to like continue on to read more from Neek Mills. So if you've already read Cuffed by a Certified Maniac, which I absolutely enjoyed, I felt like I needed to come in and read Loved by a Certified Maniac, but the characters, specifically Mo, is not the character that I thought she was going to be in her own book, and I wind up DNFing this one. So for me, this is a no, but for you, it may be a maybe. The last book I read in the month of July was BDE, Falling for a BBW by Andy Brooks. This one is going to be a maybe. I had really high hopes of going into this one because the premise sounds really good. It was about a hitman. He was on a job. He got injured. Somebody has it out for him. He breaks into our FMC's bookshop and he passes out, and she starts to take care of him. I thought that was such an interesting premise because he has never had physical touch. He was an orphan. He was built not to care about people and built to take people out. And yet he finds this woman who nurses him back to health, and she becomes his everything. However, I typically do not like virgin romances because there are some ways in which they portray the women and how like they lose their mind over the men and they're given little morsels. And I just felt like there were some things that it just didn't work for me specifically because of the virgin FMC. I wanted her to, have a little bit more backbone about herself. So for me, if you want to try a new author, I would tell you to read Andy Brooks, but it was a maybe. Like, not a bad book, but definitely has room for improvement. I wish I could have ended this video on a better note. Just know that I do have some ideas in mind for videos in the month of August. These are the books that I read for May, June, and July. Tell me if you have read any of these. Which one did you like? Did you think it was a yes or maybe or no? If you don't want to do any of that, I'm going to tell you all to leave me a wedding ring emoji for somebody's husband, because this one is the man that's putting a rock on this hand. Dr. Dresden is my boyfriend / husband and friend and everything else. This man, he is all that I need from 2026. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.